Imagine setting out alone to walk almost 500 kilometres across some of the most remote and challenging terrain in Europe. Well, that's exactly what Clare man Dermot Cosgrove is doing right now as he treks across Iceland from destination Húsavík in the north to Vík on the south coast, a journey expected to take 21 days. Originally from Ennis, now living in Kilkee, Dermot's undertaking the challenge to raise funds for Irish dogs for the disabled. And Dermot joins us on the line from Iceland. Dermot, how are you?
Good morning, Dara. How are you doing?
Very, very well. Alan here with you. So you're speaking to us.
Alan.
No problem. You're speaking to us from Iceland. Very early on in your journey. So tell us where you are today and how things have gone so far at this early stage.
I'm in the by the lake of Myvatn, which is a big bird watching area in the north of Iceland, and it was originally supposed to be my target for the third day, but I decided to do a long day yesterday and knocked 44 kilometres out to get here and have 2 full rest days before continuing on. So it's been going well. The first day was, there's the usual first day niggles that you kind of have to get out of the way. I'm using a 2-wheeled hiking cart to pull the bag that I'm using. So just getting the weights right on it and stuff like that. So it was that was out of the way on the first day, and yesterday went well. So I was able to do a full 10 hours.
And Dermot, usually when I speak to people who are taking on big challenges like this, where they're covering a considerable distance, they usually have like a support team with them. Are you flying solo on this, or have you got anyone there should any significant problems present themselves?
No, I'm totally solo. I've done a few of these in the past. I came up here in 2019, but unfortunately, due to a foot injury on the third day, I had to quit back then and had the plan to come back in 2020. But the COVID, of course, got in the way and threw my plans around. So this has been my first chance to get back up here. But I've done the likes of West Greenland solo a couple of times, and it's just the way I've been used to doing things.
Okay, Iceland, whilst its population is significantly smaller than Ireland's, little over 300,000, it is bigger in terms of landmass. How much preparation has gone into planning the not easiest route, but getting from one side of the country to the other in the way that will cause you the least amount of problems?
Well, I had a route planned out back in 2019, and I adapted a little bit more this time in order to. I shortened it because I work a month on, month off overseas, and I've got to fit things in with that. So I shortened it, shortened the amount of kilometres that I would normally do per day, and just had a bit of a brand new plan. So. It's really these next couple of days will see me on what would in effect be purely trail, and then after that I'll be hitting what the Icelanders refer to as F roads, which are mountain roads for their 4x4s, and I'll be taking advantage of those because they're a graded road and they'll allow me to move along pretty much unimpeded except for river crossings.
And people will maybe have an image in their mind of Iceland. I'm sure many of us haven't been there. Some have. For those who haven't seen Iceland's terrain or highlands, and not having been there but seen images of it and seen it on TV, it looks stunning. Describe the landscape you'll be crossing. I'd imagine you will see a lot of beautiful sights, beautiful vistas.
Well, it's very. The area where I am now today would parts of it would remind you a little bit of the Burn, except that it's volcanic rock as opposed to limestone. But it's dotted with these huge black volcanic hills. As I came into Myvatn yesterday evening, coming down the hill, you're looking over this huge lake with these small volcanic islands kind of dotted around it, and just off to the side there's this massive extinct volcano. So it's just sitting there, and it's quite stunning and picturesque in its own way. But you can understand why they've made so many movies around this area. It is quite visually, it is unreal. But I managed to pass, and you pass by a lot of these geothermal areas where you've literally got steam bubbling out of the ground.
It sounds fascinating, and it makes the journey more interesting, I guess. You mentioned bringing provisions for a 3-week journey. How much, how significant is the load that you're carrying in terms of provisions and equipment and so on?
Yeah, I've got about between 35 and 40 kilos, and it's why I've been using this 2-wheel cart, because it takes the load actually off your shoulders and moves it down to a better position coming from the back. And my brother adapted all-terrain tires to it. So it significantly lowers the stress on the body when you're moving. But there's 3 weeks of dried rations in there, and a few other bits and pieces, along with my tent and some other gear in there.
You described the terrain and the scenery. What are the weather conditions like in Iceland at this time of year?
It would remind you a lot now of kind of March, April in Ireland. They had snow last week, and there's still quite a lot of snow on the highlands and on the higher elevations. The temperatures have been okay. It's been quite cool, which is ideal for hiking. So it's been around the 5-6 degrees most days. I had a little bit of rain yesterday morning, which I decided to delay my start and let it go past. And then I had a good dry day to keep walking. But it's on the whole, it's been pretty good. I mean, Iceland is known a bit like Ireland for being weather unpredictable. So it's especially in the Highlands, you can have wind, rain, sunshine. Even in June, July, you can get snow flurries and stuff like that. So I've had to pack accordingly for all that.
Okay, you have to prepare for anything and everything weather-wise, but the sounds of it. I dare say you're more able for these kind of journeys than the average person. I mentioned you were a former member of the French Foreign Legion, which I think is fascinating. How did you come to join the French Foreign Legion, and what kind of adventures did that lead you towards?
Well, according to my mother, I ran away, even though I was 19. I enlisted at 19, and I spent 6 years mainly on operations in the first Gulf War, and Somalia for 2 stints in Somalia while I was based in East Africa. So I spent a lot of time based in the African continent and Middle East. And since then, I've been working as a security consultant, and mainly in Africa and the Middle East. So, I've travelled quite a lot and in conflict zones and stuff. So while it's adventurous, it doesn't quite prepare you for something like this. So there's a lot of training goes into this.
Yeah, and how much, does the logistical side of it, planning what you will need in terms of your 40-odd kilos of provisions and equipment and tent and all that, but how do you prepare physically and I guess mentally as well, because it's just you, it's for an extended period of time, and that maybe there's kind of psychological aspects that you have to be mindful of as well?
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's no doubt it can be tough on the head, especially when you have a tough day. The first day here, some of the trail that I was initially supposed to follow was just extremely muddy. And I was sinking in along with my cart, so I had to pull back out and adapt on the fly to get around it. And it's the kind of mentality that you need to maintain for places like here, is that the plan will almost never go according to how you want it to go. So you just have to be adaptable. And I'm lucky enough that I use a satellite tracking beacon that has two-way communication. So I have my brother at home, my girlfriend who lives in the States, who are in constant contact. The area where I am still has extremely good phone coverage, so I get a lot of messages from friends in Kilkee. So it's good like that. It gives you a little bit of a boost. Once I get into the Highlands, it's going to be pretty much purely on the satellite beacon that I'll be communicating, which I'll reserve for kind of emergency situations. But people are able to follow me as I go as well, so they know where I am, which is a comfort in its own. And it's just really kind of putting your head down and going as hard as you can.
Yeah, and hopefully it all works out for you. You're not just doing it for the fun of it, Dermot. You're doing it for a very good cause, which is Irish Dogs for the Disabled. Tell us a little bit about them and why that's a charity, that's an organisation that's kind of close to your heart.
Well, back in 2016, when I originally started taking on kind of challenges like these, and I went to Greenland the first time, in 2017, my sister used to was a dog socializer for them, and I got to know the dogs quite well, and I got to know what the charity itself did. So when I decided to start doing these, even though I do them for the challenge in itself of challenging myself, I thought it's an ideal opportunity to do some good as well at the same time. And I started raising money for them, and I've kept on doing it with every one of the challenges I've done. They're fantastic because their clients are primarily children. It costs about €15,000 to train one of these dogs. They don't charge their clients. They don't, unlike some charities where you have to raise a certain amount of the costs for to get a dog. Irish Dogs for the Disabled don't do any of that. And they're solely reliant on fundraising. So, they get out there and do it. And, there's a 3-year waiting list pretty much for all of these dogs. So, if I can shorten that waiting list by a little bit, then all the better.
Well, hopefully we can help you raise a few more quid because you're going to all of this effort, and it's a lot of work over an extended period of time. So if people do want to donate towards your efforts, Dermot, have you a fundraising page, an iDonate or GoFundMe that they can go to?
I do. I have an iDonate page set up. And if people want to follow my progress as well, probably the best place is on Cosgrove Outdoors. Cosgrove_outdoors on Instagram, and I'll be posting on there as often as I can, and the links are in the bio of my account on there.
Well, look, we wish you well, Dermot. Hopefully you raise a lot of money. I know you've raised well over $3,000 already, and hopefully a lot more by the end of the journey. And hopefully it all goes.
Yeah, I'm close on $5,000 now, actually, apparently. So, we're getting there. I've got a target of 10 for this trip, so fingers crossed I can make it to that.
Well, hopefully you do so. And look, we wish you well on the rest of the journey. Thanks for having a chat with us from Iceland, and we'll let you get back to it. Thanks very much, Dermot.
Thank you very much, Alan. Bye.
Take care. That's Dermot Cosgrove, who is traversing across Iceland. No mean feat. All for the Irish Dogs for the Disabled. So head to his iDonate page and help out in whatever way you can.